It is time for the Broncos to bounce back. What is going on? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today I am taking a deep dive into the 2023 Denver Broncos. So, if you guys are new, would love for you guys to stick around, like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun YouTube stuff. Links are in the description for even more. I'm going to start doing tape studies, so you guys are going to have to join the Discord for that because we're going to watch a lot of all 22 because actually we're starting to see quite a bit of it come out really early, which is awesome. I'm very excited for that. So definitely check it out because we have over 700 members there. It's absolutely free. It's awesome. And when we start doing fan mock drafts again, which I promise will definitely be more plentiful, that is going to be where it's at. So you guys can always reach out to me there as well. Check it out. And then we're going to do a breakdown of the depth chart as well as a a records prediction. Starting off with the offense, we're going from skill position to O-line, then D-line to skill position for the defense. We have the quarterback, and that is Russell Wilson. I wanted to honestly put the picture of Melvin Ingram just staring at him as part of this, but to save y'all the torment that happened last season, you trade significant draft capital away, and you obviously don't perform the way that the draft capital suggested, and then randomly Geno Smith becomes a monster, so Seattle didn't really lose anything. It was a pain for y'all last year, and I do apologize for that because as a Steelers fan, I haven't really been able to experience something of that magnitude of pain because there was a lot of excitement around the Broncos talking about how they were supposed to be the dark horse, and they ended up being a bottom 10 team in the NFL, which is very, very unfortunate, especially when you look at the roster. And I'm trying to temper expectations here, but Russell Wilson has been looking finally like he's going to make a bounce back. He's training, and a lot of people made fun of him for that training video, and he was like sliding on that plexiglass thing. I forgot what it's called. I used to use it. Really fun, especially if you're not very athletic or flexible like your boy here, and you want to pretend like you're a hockey player and you live in a place like Los Angeles like I used to. It was a fun way to just, transport yourself into like NHL 16 for a little bit. But regardless, it is one hell of a workout for the people who do make fun of him for just sliding around. That's not really the point of this, but it is showing that he's at least putting in the work. And I think Russell Wilson's one of those dudes who could have a good bounce back. And based on the records prediction, which you guys who are only caring about that probably would skip there, but those of you who want to stick the grind and enjoy the roster, we'll see that I do reflect that in there. I do think he might have a pretty big bounce back. Javonte Williams got hurt last year, and you got guys like Tyler Beatty behind him. There was a huge running back rotation last year once Javonte went down, but Javonte was one of my favorite running backs coming out. I loved his play style, really good contact balance back, and he's been excellent. So good for him. Michael Burton, if I'm not mistaken, is the fullback as well. I don't really care too much about fullbacks. No disrespect to those of you who are, because I honestly once was as well. But looking at the wide receivers, you got Courtland Sutton, who has been hinted to be on the chopping block. So, we'll see how long he stays on the roster. But you also got guys like Tim Patrick, who was hurt last year, who was a big asset that unfortunately was not able to be used. And you got Jerry Jeudy, another guy who I've heard rumors of being potentially on the chopping block, not to get cut. I mean, that's what chopping means, but y'all know what I mean. He's potentially on the move elsewhere. He is not secure in a job, we'll put it that way. Drafted Marvin Mims, I think early third-round pick this year. And then you got KJ Hamler as well, who I like KJ Hamler. I think that he still has some potential. Want him to be a little bit more healthy, a little bit more consistent, and then I think he can actually be pretty damn solid. Tight end Greg Dulcich. I had a pretty high grade on him. Ended up taking him in the third round just a little bit over a year ago. I think he's going to end up flashing out. He's a good player. And then you also have Adam Troutman from New Orleans coming with Sean Payton. But you also have Marquez Callaway there to back up Courtland Sutton. So maybe Sean Payton's just more comfortable with Callaway and might want to just maximize the value of Sutton. I'm not sure. But overall, I mean, this team isn't really inspiring in terms of its weapons. You got Marvin Mims there, who I think is probably going to be that rookie of the year. Not many other options who could potentially replace him. Tim Patrick bouncing back, and then you have Adam Troutman there, who could be a really good tight end too, because I know Russell likes his tight ends. But looking at the O-line, you got Garrett Bowles, who had a nice contract a little bit ago. Still a solid player, but I did hear that he was also potentially on the move. Just weird. I mean, it's what happens when you have a new regime coming in there. Ben Powers, I'm not really a huge fan of him myself. I think he's one of the worst pieces of the whole entire offense. Lloyd Cushenberry's had ups and downs in his career, but I have faith in him. Quinn Meinerz is someone who I really, really like. And then Mike McGlinchey was the free agency acquisition who got paid a pretty penny. So overall, there's not really much that's bad, hence why I say Ben Powers is the worst. But there's nothing that's awe-inspiring about this team. Javonte Williams probably the best, but a lot of guys have a very tough season coming back off of an ACL tear. Now we're looking at the defense. Starting out with the line, you got Zach Allen there, DJ Jones, and Jonathan Harris from Chicago. Not necessarily the best front. DJ Jones got paid, like I just said, a pretty penny. This past offseason, I think he got paid $50 million, but I might be tripping and mixing my numbers with Seattle. Regardless, DJ Jones, still a talented player, but Jonathan Harris didn't really do anything last year for the Bears. This is based off of our lads, so I'm just repeating what they're putting. So if you guys have inside information, you follow the beat writers, that would always be helpful to me. I'm more than fine being wrong. I just like to do this to inform myself while informing you guys as well of what I am able to scour on the internet. Because our lads is very consistent overall, but until week 1, you don't really have a full depth chart. But then you got Frank Clark and Randy Gregory, which is awesome because you also have Nick Bonito behind him. Probably the best core that you guys do have. Linebackers, Josie Jewell, Alex Singleton, backed up by my linebacker 1. Pretty sure Drew Sanders. Yeah, my linebacker 1. So I like Drew Sanders a lot. I think that he also has pass rushing upside, so I don't think that he strictly needs to be on the inside because at Alabama, he was a pass rusher at a much higher weight. But then you go on to the safeties, Kareem Jackson, he's just getting old. Justin Simmons is a beast. But then you also have Caden Stearns, JL Skinner there. Forgetting if you have Jamar Johnson as well, because I really liked him. But regardless, you have good depth there. You have good players. And Justin Simmons is, obviously a beast. He's a freak. But then you go to slot, you have Kwan Williams. When healthy, he's solid, but I'm just not fully sold yet. You got Patrick Surtain, arguably one of the best, if not the best corner in the NFL. Yes, I do believe he could be up there. I had him tied with J.C. Horn, and a lot of Panthers fans got pissed when I said that he was better, but, I don't really think we need to knock somebody down to lift somebody else up. I think they're both really good guys, and Patrick Surtain has proven to be a very good corner. I'm not a huge fan of Mathis. I wasn't a huge fan of him at Pitt, but he's right now listed as a starting corner. A little bit worried because of the fact that, with all these guys, you got Riley Moss in there, so I guess they also see the potential or the concern. There's just not much depth there, and I'm not a huge fan of Riley Moss compared to, other guys who were on the board. But, as long as you got the corner 1 down, you're going to be able to mold a guy who's really good in terms of ball skills as well as athleticism with Riley Moss. So, of course, with pretty much nobody besides Drew Sanders, who could be Rookie of the Year and potentially being able to start, Riley Moss seems the easy Rookie of the Year candidate for me. Frank Clark, people have been kind of pushing him down in the dumps. And, I think that when he's not the focal point, he could definitely be awesome. And then, of course, Drew Sanders could step in for Alex Singleton. But yeah, overall, very, very good squad nonetheless. Jumping into the records, starting out with Vegas, it's tough. It's tough right away. I think that with Jimmy G and a good run game, solid enough O-line, I think Vegas is going to just have that day 1 jump. But, especially with Javonte coming back off an ACL tear as well, I feel like the game might need a little bit of getting used to, especially with Sean Payton coming in as well. There's a lot of moving parts, and I think that, Vegas also has a lot of moving parts, to be fair. But I think Vegas could be a little bit more ready week 1. Regardless, you guys have a phenomenal record here. I think you guys are much better than Washington. I was very, very disappointed when it came to Washington. So you guys can check out that video if you guys want to. But I gave Washington, I believe, a 4-13 record. Just one of those teams I have absolutely no faith in, even though I love the quarterback more than anybody else probably in the world. Then you got Miami. You're in Miami. That's a really tough game. Chicago. It's a game Chicago could win, but I do think this team just is better overall. Chicago still needs some pieces. Even Tremaine Edmonds said, I want to be part of a rebuilding team. So he even has admitted to the fact that they're not there yet. New York, I think that they have some time acclimating that they need to get used to as well. And you'll see, did we ever lose? We lost 1 home game on this. So I favor home teams a lot when they have competitive advantage. Again, you could say you can go 11-6 based on that week 1, but it is what it is. I think that New York has enough moving parts going on where they still need to get in the groove. And then you're also in Mile High. It's going to be very, very difficult. Kansas City is an absolute juggernaut, so I'm not really going to get at them for that. Green Bay, actually, I have you splitting with Kansas City. That's pretty ballsy. I'm gonna be honest. I'm showing y'all a bit of love by saying that you guys get that split right there. But Green Bay, they're a good team, and you're at home, so I'm gonna give you guys the nod there. Green Bay is another one of those teams where I'm really, to be honest, fearful to drop that video because I gave them a very poor record, even though I honestly was trying to force to give them a lot of wins. You're at Buffalo during the winter time or during the fall time. It's going to be tough to play in that biome against a very talented team. Again, Minnesota's coming to a very difficult area, and I don't think that they're that talented. Cleveland, they're definitely a good team, but again, I'm going to give the Mile High City. Like when I think teams are relatively matched talent-wise, I'm going to usually lean the home team, especially if they're in a unique environment. Houston is just one of those teams I'm going to toss in an L here and there because, there's randomization in the NFL. And I do think Houston has a pretty damn solid roster. I already put up that video, so y'all can check that out. Then you have at LA. LA's a talented team. We'll talk about them probably tomorrow. And then you have Detroit. Detroit's a good team too. They just didn't hit exactly where I really wanted them to. They'll have Jameson Williams at this time, so we'll see where they're at right there. And then you got New England, LA, and Vegas ending it out. Again, giving the tip to the home team right there. And then ending it off versus a team I think is inferior, but just got really lucky in week 1. So honestly, if I were really just to go with my gut right now and say, I kind of feel bad about giving you guys an L week 1, I would have given you guys an L in week 8. So I'm going to give you guys a 10-7 record regardless. You end up moving up in the conference as well as the division, and you go for up 11 draft picks. You guys do not make the playoffs according to this because I think the AFC is just so stacked. I literally have another team that beat you that a lot of people think could be Super Bowl contenders, not making the playoffs. And they're 10-7 as well. It's a tough AFC. So, temper your expectations, but I think that it's going to be a much better year than it was last year. So, fingers crossed, y'all. I hope you all the best. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys on the far side.